Changing minds one thought at a time.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Motivate Social Podcast, where we bring you people who are changing the world via social media. Now, today it's just going to be me and my lovely co-host Vanessa. Today, how are you, Vanessa?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I am great. I know that you had this amazing idea of something for us to talk about today. So lay it on the people.
Oh, as we are going on with growing in our life and or our business, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. And today's topic is going to be about toxic relationships. Yes, toxic relationships. Too often we hold on to toxic relationships for the wrong reasons. And sometimes you have to be okay with letting them go. For example, um, we have this stigma where it's okay to stay in relationships that's not healthy for us because we've been in it so long, or we don't want to start over, or we have another excuse after another excuse, and now we find ourselves spending years and years in a toxic relationship and never get to the opportunity to experience peace. Why stay when you could be able to have peace, right? And so I remember just going through my journey. It was tough. It was tough to accept the fact that I had to let some toxic relationships go. Um, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't, but it was necessary, and it's necessary for your own sanity. It's necessary for your own peace. It's necessary for your own growth. It's necessary. And I had to be able to embrace that. And once I was able to embrace um, the possibilities of happiness on the other side, I was okay with releasing the toxic relationships from whatever it was, if it was with life, family, if it was with business, whatever the case may be. I had to learn how to remove myself from that type of space because it can be so draining. Have you ever experienced a toxic relationship, Dr. Finch, where you had to let it go? And if so, why?
I assume everybody has. There have been different ones for different reasons. And, a lot of times it takes me a long time to warm up to a person. And by the time I'm warmed up to them, they're just kind of like, oh, well, I'm moving on or whatever. And I guess it's a mechanism for me, so that I don't have to be involved in a lot of things. But then the ones who stick around and then it ends up being toxic, I think that's the ones that really seem to hurt the most. Especially when you think y'all are having a good friendship or you having a good relationship, you know, and you find out that they're just using you, or you were just the flavor of the week to see if they could get higher in their elevation. And I've experienced all of that. But at the end of the day, it seems that the people that need to be removed were removed recently. And, that's a good thing. But, all of that was a learning experience too. You need to see these toxic relationships as learning experiences and not, oh, I was just so stupid or whatever, whatnot. Because a lot of times we try to beat ourselves up on about that kind of stuff. But see it as a learning lesson, you know, and make sure that it's, the saying goes, one time shame on you, the second time shame on me. Well, learn from the first time so it's never shame on me, and build from that and make your decisions accordingly. Now, I'm not saying And this is another thing that happens with people that deal with toxic relationships. They treat everybody like the first person and don't see people for who they are. They always assume that somebody was going to get them, try to take them, this, that, and the other thing. And that may not be the case, but because they were hurt, they don't see past the hurt and always come into the next relationship with that same type of skepticism. But you can't do that either, because that person deserves to be known just like the first person deserved to be known. So, have you ever had that issue, Vanessa, where you went into a relationship or something with different thoughts from the last relationship?
I did. In my younger days, in my broken days, absolutely. I did. It was, I was attracting people just like me. And so if I'm broken, we're gonna have a whole lot to talk about, right? But it wasn't really healing. And so with it's not being healing, it was really hurting us because it was holding us back for my full potential. So I had to be at a place in my life, and it took some time to be able to accept it, that I'm not growing. And I know I need to be further on in my life. And I was looking at the fact that, dag, if I'm like this now, what am I going to show my children later? And that was the point where I said enough. And I need to make some drastic changes that people didn't even understand why I was so abrupt with removing myself from staying somewhere where I was comfortable talking about how broken I was. But I wasn't in a place of talking about how I could be able to heal or learning how to be able to heal. And so it left me there. I was vacationing there. That's why I went to bed there. I rose up. That's where I was meeting every moment of the day, in that space. And it just left me more haunted by, dang, this is life. This can't be life. Right. And so I had to be honest with myself. And that's the hardest thing ever, is when you have to be honest and face your truth of like, okay, now what's next? What you're willing to do? Are you willing to surrender? Are you willing to be open enough to see beyond, to be able to connect with people that's not like you, you know? And that is hard when is embedded in you for so many years of the people that you've been connecting to. And once you learn to disconnect, to reconnect with something different, now you're on your way, because the conversation is totally different. And when the conversation is totally different, the mind starts to make a shift of, oh, wait a minute, there. So people don't sit around and just talk about how broken they are. They really talk about life lessons. They talk about their goals, their aspirations, and the things that they want to do, and who they could connect with to be able to do it, and then invest in themselves, and positivity and laughter and all types. And being around something like that, I had to relearn that behavior. And that was a hard one for me, to be a young adult and learn that type of behavior. But once I change my thought patterns, change the way I connect, change the way I speak, change everything about me one step at a time, I was willing to be able to say, dang, okay, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. And so I was always, and still to this day, I always connect with people that's older than me. Always connected with people that was older than me. It was just something about that wisdom that they was giving me that I needed. And I was hungry for it. So I would sit around, be around, have lunch around them, just to get the wisdom of something different, something that was missing. And I'm glad I did.
That's a good thought. Let's take it there actually. Once you realize you have a toxic relationship, what do you fill it with? Once you release it, what happens next? For me, once I release the toxic relationships, people start coming back into my life. And I start building more positive bonds. Also I had started going out to different organizations that I had been thinking about doing, but had never really, put any effort to doing. Changing my patterns was major. Reaching out and exploring new opportunities. Different. I found out I like certain crafts. I found out I liked to walk certain trails. I found out that I like to exercise on my Wii. Just simple stuff to take myself out of the normal routine that I would have been in with the person in the toxic relationship, and realizing that once they were gone, I had so much time on my hands, so much time that I needed to fill it. And I started filling it with things that enhance me. And then eventually, all the information I was receiving from these things that were enhancing me made me want to reach out and create more programs, do more summits, speak on more stages and different types of stages. And, the list goes on and on. I even wrote my first anthology, compiled the first anthology. And all these things because I moved on and I got familiar with me. And that's what happens when you get out of a toxic relationship. You will find out who you are. Was that something that happened to you, Vanessa? Did you find out more about who you were?
Oh, yeah, I had to go find my identity. I didn't have an identity. The identity that people had painted for me was my identity. And I had to go and find, who's Vanessa Canteberry? Who's that? You know, and once I've learned my true identity, I was able to live in that. And I like, I like what I discovered about me. I took a stand for something that people were so afraid to take a stand on. I was willing to be able to go to the next, because it's always a next. I was willing to do that. I was willing to explore the possibilities. I was willing, I was open to those things. And once I was able to just do all of those things, oh my goodness, the person on the other side is somebody who's amazing. But I would have never um, discovered who I am if I continue to be who they want me to be. You cannot be who you are meant to be if you are living underneath their rock, underneath their thumb, underneath their spell, underneath their toxic, underneath all of that. If especially when they have yet to discover themselves, because they don't know who they are, but they know who you are. I hope that makes sense. And so I had to just go into re-identify me. It's just like I had to get a whole new identification. I had to go and get a new ID. I had to go and get a new social. I had to get a whole new birth certificate. I had just to be rebirthed again to be able to see, the possibilities of me. And that right there, I was willing to be able to do, because I didn't like the direction that I was going into. I was a mean. I was mean. I was what's another word? I snappy, I was unruly, whatever the case may be, it was all negative, and I just didn't like that. I carried the pain for so long, and at some point you gonna carry that pain of your pain to somebody else's pain. You carrying all of that in these toxic relationships, and at some point you will explode. And that's where I was at. Before the explosion took place, I had to step back because I discovered this was familiar territory of what I was becoming, and I didn't like it. So I had to be okay with that. And I'm glad that I was like that, that I took the time out to be able to say, you know what, it's time for you to check out, to be able to check in with somebody new. And so once I learned to check in with someone new, so many people don't have a clue who I am. And so now that they see who I am instead of what they thought I should have been, now they want to be around me. And now I'm skeptical of being around you, because if you really have my best interest at heart, you would have checked me a long time ago. And that's the reality of the situation. If we're friends, if we're family, if you value me, or what have you, you would check me when I'm doing wrong. Pull my coattail. Hold on, what you doing? I need to be around people like that who is willing to check me, pull my coattail, and let me know the path that I'm going is not the path that's for me. It's something better for me, and I need to do better. And not willing to just throw in a towel on me, but willing to just pull my coattail. Not a person just willing to be able to go along with my negativity. We got to be okay with that. So I'd rather connect with those people who say, you know what, I see your best interest, versus someone who's just going to go along with me being toxic to myself and to other people. And now you want to come back around because I found my true identity. No, you can stay over there because you like the negativity. You like that part. And now you want to be able to reap the benefit of this other side of me. No, go ahead, stay over there. It's okay. So you got to be willing to disconnect yourself from those people who, it don't matter who it is, if it's family, if it's friends, that who's the get along gang and of toxic behavior. Be okay with distancing yourself from them. And stop apologizing for it, because at some point you get drawn back into their web of their spell of craziness, and that's not what you want to do, especially if you work so hard to get where you're at right now. I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. So now that you have moved into this arena in your life, what have you learned from this, Vanessa? What do you want the people to know about toxic relationships? What are the signs, I guess, to know that you're in one? That's a good question. What are the signs?
There's signs of a toxic relationship. Every time you pick up the phone, every time you're in their presence, every time you connect with them or catch up with them, it's always something negative. Ugh. You drained again. It's like, oh my goodness, are you serious? They're not respecting your boundaries. Meaning, if you want a journey to healing, and they still on a journey of negativity and drawing you back into their spell of the negativity, and they still in the same place, in the same space that they were in a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, that's another sign. You just got to be, look, stay over there. I'm okay with that. Just over there. I wish you well. I don't wish anyone any ill will, but I wish you well. Don't never come across as being as you better than somebody else. Yes, you do deserve better, but at the same time, you have to protect your better, the better that you have worked so hard on building. So, everybody is totally different, and family could be the worst. Family and friends could be the worst of just, they're not supportive of your growth process. They're not supportive of your, even if it's a business, they're not supportive. If it's so much negative and you feel that it's taken away of your hard work, and now it's turning you into your old self, oh, you need to go ahead and disconnect. Don't do that to yourself. You are worth so much more. You work so hard to get to where you are right now, and there's more growth that's in you. Don't allow anybody, don't matter who, it does not matter. You deserve to have and be in a happy place in your life. Because what if it's come to the point, just think about this. What if you find yourself in an amazing relationship, you get married, and they have found their way to be so negative about that because they never experienced being happy, and they want you to join their miserable lives. So that means you back and forth to picking, being miserable, and having some peace. Well, what about if you raising your children? I'm just saying, I had to think about all these things. Again, what would you want your children to be able to pick from that? How to be toxic and how to not support, how to be negative, how, all of the negatives. You just don't want to, your children to be enwrapped in all of that. You just got to think of the bigger picture because there's so much more. So just think about that. What would you like? Would you like to be able to be drained, where to the point where you have nothing left? And that's where I was at in my life. If you are draining me to the point where I cannot be available to those who support me, who's in my circle, family, friends, whoever that case may be, if it is one, and I can't give them anything else after I'm talking to you, dealing with you, surrounded by you, whatever the case may be, then I need to make a decision for me. And I have to be okay with that decision, even if you don't agree with it or not. We have to stop giving passes to toxic people. It's like you pass it on to somebody else, and somebody else catch the vibe of being toxic, and then somebody else catch the vibe, and then now you don't pass it so much, we just go along and just accept it because nobody put a stop to it. So we just rather be around the pity party of being toxic. I'm not going to be there. Don't send me an invitation.
Hi.
It's so many times where people, I seen like this, like a couple years ago, where someone said, we're going to send you an invitation because we're going to have a get together and something. I said, because I knew that you doing the same darn old thing that we was doing when we was younger. You was treating people the same way, and now you're in your adult life and you're doing the same thing. So if I already know that, why do I want to show up and accept this invitation? And then lo and behold, when the pictures and the videos came out, I'm glad I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to give them the benefit of the doubt, baby. If they already showed you who they are, I'm just saying, what more do you need?
Mm-hmm.
You just setting yourself up for a headache. So I don't want a headache right now. I'm sorry. I just don't want one. So I just choose not to be around that. Life is already short. Why do I need to include it with toxic relationships, to be involved in anything that I'm doing, I'm not going to have a conversation with you when I already know that you are toxic. Why would I want to share with the things that I'm doing when I already know you're toxic? It makes no sense. There's no need for me to be able to have those conversations. And it is hard, but at the same time, it's necessary just to keep my peace, because I try to give the benefit of the doubt type of situation. And it turns around and it just backfired. So I just said, you know what? That was enough for me. And so I just choose to be able to make better decisions on not giving passes to individuals who are toxic. Family, friends, it just don't matter. I'm not going to do it. Not today, not tomorrow, not forevermore.
Well, that was a good learning lesson for somebody who's out there listening today that's going through a toxic relationship. Because, sometimes they just sneak up on you. They start out one way. Y'all both have the same alignment. Y'all going through the trenches, and then all of a sudden they take a shift, and slowly but surely you take it on a ride you didn't think you need to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And then eventually you have to get off the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if you choose to get off the ride, and hopefully it's on good terms, but sometimes it's not. And, even one day y'all might get back on good terms, but it doesn't have to be the way it used to be. It could be a whole nother type of dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
So, love you, see you, or appreciate you, celebrate you, but we just can't be in the same area for too long. Whatever is the new normal, it's all good. And don't apologize for what you need to be the new normal to make sure that you're stable.
Mm-hmm.
So, we would love to hear what you have to say on this. We would love for you to weigh in on this. And so, how do you do that? Well, you just come on over to our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram at Change Your Minds Online, or Twitter at Change Mind Online without the E, and weigh in on this conversation. You'll see the show posted, and we'll read your comments from there. And of course, we'll definitely respond, because we need to see what you have to say. And then also you can join us on our YouTube channel at Change Your Minds Online as well, because, that's a great way to share it out, and of course, feel free to subscribe while you're there, because all of our episodes are sitting right there for your listening pleasure. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but we're here every Wednesday, bringing you a new topic, bringing you some new flavor, as they say. And
You give me some new
so,
flavor in your ear. Somebody said
yes,
that.
yes. See that, Vanessa? There you go. There you go. You over there dating us now. You dating us.
Don't tell nobody.
I know, right? All right. Hey, so y'all know how we are at least. But at the end of the day, we want to thank y'all for listening to the podcast, listening to what we have to say, and then always giving us feedback. We appreciate the feedback. We see the feedback. We answer your feedback. Keep it coming, because we need to know what you want to hear as well. So up under there, if you feel something in your shanana and you want us to explore that, then drop that down there in the comments as well. So Vanessa, before we close, any closing comments from you, sister?
The best thing is to be able to do what's best for you and yours, and don't apologize for it. You don't owe an explanation for your growing um, and exploring your better self to find your true identity. So go ahead, be okay with living your best life without the negativity and the brokenness. Go ahead and get your healing.
Well, that's a perfect note to end this conversation. So with that being said, good night, everyone.
Good night.